Does anybody see Manchester City dropping points at home to West Ham on the final day?
No. It's no disrespect to West Ham. I've been in that stadium on last days, like you said, the Gundogan moment, the QPR moment with Aguero, the fans. I just think Man City, I think the game will be difficult. I don't think it'll be a 2-3-0 because West Ham have got some very good players, but I think Man City will get the job done.
Jamie?
No, I don't see it. But I just feel for Arsenal because they've been incredible. And we've seen sides in this Premier League try to take on the juggernaut that is Manchester City and just not be able to just quite climb that mountain. Remember Liverpool a couple of years ago, a few times, got so many points but just couldn't do it because Man City would just hold them off at the last second. And it feels like that again for Arsenal this season. They've been incredible, absolutely magnificent, but they just haven't. Couple of moments have gone their way. Maybe the start, you always look at back ifs and buts, but they have been so good, Arsenal. They've pushed them all the way, but I just don't see, because of the history and the way that they've done it before, I just don't see Manchester City slipping up now. Yeah,
Manchester City haven't won as many trophies as they have by not knowing when there's another step to take along the path. But do you think, in your head, Daniel, is it pretty much done for them, the title?
I echo the sentiments of the gentleman next to me. I just believe City have been, once they get into this groove that they're in, they seem like they're unstoppable, and I think they're going to be fired up for the game at the weekend.
One match away, the potential for 4 successive Premier League titles. Is this your greatest moment for coaching credentials, that you have to keep your team calm to get over the line?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely have to be calm. Absolutely have to. So we have experienced that with Aston Villa, how difficult it is to manage emotions in the last game when everything give you for granted. And just thinking tomorrow with Antonio, Bowen, Kudus and Ward-Prowse and Soucek and many of these things. So we have to do it. And the job is, we want it, arrive in the last game with a chance, but the job is not done. Absolutely not.
You're just looking over my shoulder at some of the highlights. Son has punished you before at this stadium. Did you fear for a moment he was going to pull one back?
Well, the game is, what can I say? So it was tight. I think we have the clip, not a lot of chances, but the Phil Foden from Josko in the far post and the goal. And after they push a lot and they have chances. And after the injury from Eddie, it was a really tough one. And after they had the moment, and after there's Ortega make an incredible 2-3 save us. But always happening against that team, always like that.
Remarkable for him to come on cold and pull off a save like that. And we don't see celebrations like that from you very often. It proved what it meant.
No, it's like that. So, yeah, we are happy. I'm absolutely happy. But in the same time, it's one more game. We have to really relax.
Tranquilo, Edison was really upset. Is that because he fears he won't be able to play?
No, he want to continue. That means a lot to us. But in the same time have a kick in the eyes, swallow, and that's why the doctor came to me and said to me he has to be replaced because he cannot see properly, so it's where it is.
It's so hard to wrap this up because there's so much to say. Micheal Arteta, a player you've known since you were babies in La Masia. Did you know he was going to take you all the way to the final day? And Haaland, back-to-back golden boots, is on course for that. But the chemistry of him and Kevin, we could have seen so much more of that without Kevin's injury. It was beautiful tonight.
Yeah, of course. Of course, the injury was a big actions of that and a tough moment. But I think every moment contribution was a difficult. We knew it, a really difficult game, a real difficult one, and you have to suffer. And these kind of games, never you play in the top level, so never you are magnificent. But we have to learn. You have to learn for the next Sunday that I perform better in some departments, but sometimes I understand it.
And Micheal?
What can I say? So he's an incredible manager. What have done this season Arsenal, so. And he will not give up. They will try to win Everton and wait what happen, but it's what we want, Stay the game, it depends on us. So this type of games, emotions are there. You cannot perform your best, and apart from the quality, for the intensity that the opponent put today in the game, because they were playing, of course, for try to qualify for the Champions League. It's an exceptional team, physicality, well managed, with the ball, without the ball. So we knew it was difficult, but in the bad moments we were there. Our keepers did the job, and at the end, in the right moment, we punished them.
Yeah, you say your keeper doing the job. I mean, just how season-defining could that Stefan Ortega save have been?
I've done since I arrived. When just arrived, we saw how standard level of the keeper it is, so we know that he making incredible saves, but many times. So, and in the moment we were 1 or 2 actions, because they are so fast with Kulusevski, with Madison, with Johnson, with Son. So they're a top, fantastic player. The runners with Porro, with Sarr, and have a lot of weapons, speed behind for the defenders. So it's an exceptional team, exceptional. So, and we knew we had to suffer, and we give us a life, few more days for the last game of the season at home.
All 4 members of your attacking unit combined to find that breakthrough goal just after the break. So what were the instructions to the players at half-time to find that? What did you need them to do slightly differently?
They were playing for the consequences of the result. When you play football thinking about the consequences, you're going to lose the Premier League, you cannot perform this level. But he's a human being, so I can understand the pressure is there. Not even Arsenal play exceptional against United, so they know that they don't win that, they are not going to win the Premier League and play with that pressure. It would be the same against West Ham. It would be the same. So we'll feel the pressure, and we look at Aston Villa a few years ago, 0-2, 15 minutes left. Sergio Aguero against QPR, 1-2, 88, 89 minutes. So the emotions are there. If you don't play for that big achievement, you play better. But it's normal. So you have to. That's why we talk about, everyone himself have to relax and perform what you have to do. That's all.
Yeah, I guess it's striking that balance between relaxing but also being hyper-aware of the consequences. You've mentioned the Aston Villa game there. Rodri also mentioned it as he came off the pitch. So that pleases you, does it, to hear the players, you're touching distance, but they're all too aware of how quickly this can still get away from you?
Yeah, they felt it. They felt it there, and they know it there. They are not celebrating absolutely anything. They were happy, of course, relief, because we wanted to arrive the last game, but we know we have a lot of job to do. A lot, and we have people are going to support us, of course, but now it's Kudus, Antonio, Bowen, Ward Prowse with the set pieces, Sosek, and and there are tricks in football game. Everything can happen. Everything can happen. Nothing for granted. And what I said before, to win Wimbledon, the tennis player said the serve to win Wimbledon is the most difficult one. The most difficult one. And this is what you have to, it, to live it, and that's why prepare well, completely focus, and try it again.
Thanks, Pep. We look forward to seeing you Sunday.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
It sounds so simple when Pep Guardiola describes it, when Kyle Walker talks about it, when you hear Rodri and the more experienced players talking about it. We just prepare well, we play well, we get the right result, and that takes us to another league title potentially. And yet it isn't easy, or else everybody would do it. But they're aware of every time that they've slipped up, Jamie. They talk about the going 2-0 down against Aston Villa on the last day of the season a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he spoke about consequences, but he also spoke that they are human beings and pressure gets to everybody. When you look to that Manchester City team when they went 2-0 down at I think it was half-time, Micah, I think they looked dead and buried, and you think, well, how are they going to turn it around? Somehow they just managed to do that. Gundogan coming in at the back post and just a little bit of luck here and there. I think, and you need that. But they obviously, of course, they know how to get across the line. But you also need that little bit of luck, those moments to go your way. And there will be pressure the weekend, because if after half an hour there's no goal, the City fans start to get a bit anxious. That can happen because, as I say, they're human beings. So it's still all to play for, although this is a huge result for them. They were playing against the West Ham side that have been struggling for a little while. They've not been in the form that Arsenal fans would like right now. They'd love to be playing against a side that's full of confidence. But let's just see, because you never quite know.
Obviously, I've been involved on one of the most dramatic, days to a season. I mean, that moment with Aguero, obviously different manager and a different team, but the emotion going into the game, it was like I'm looking normally to my left and my right, and I'm seeing David Silva and I'm seeing Aguero.
True.
I'm looking at Company and Yaya Toure, normally so calm and composed. On that day against QPR,
That QPR were at the bottom of the league.
everyone, and they was fighting to get the points. In the end, it didn't matter. But you looked around and you just seen nervousness everywhere. It's a bit different. Obviously, this team have done it. They know how to do it. They're going for the fourth. But there still will be nerves on that final day.
And also, like you've won the title, and as you said, Micah, it feels like sometimes for players, that's it. They've climbed that mountain and they've achieved. For this group of players, it has to be instilled in them that they have to go again. They have to follow up a treble-winning season by challenging on all fronts yet again. They're still in with an extremely good chance of winning a double this season. But when we talk about what you learn from a title-winning season, I mean, you were sort of just saying that just a couple of after Kyle Walker had gone away. You're like, but what is that? What is it that they learn? What do you feel that you learned?
I think for Kyle, when he's looking into, he's naming those players, it's like, what is the information that you've picked up from those guys? Obviously, you try to be a sponge around players who are older than you and can give you the information you need to take it along in your career. And I think for Kyle there, it's almost like, can you not describe it specifically where that switch mentally happens? Because it is hard to describe it. I think when I went to Chelsea and I left Man City when I was younger, Chelsea was like, the expectation is to win. There's no way around it. When I went to that football club, and there was a lot of senior professionals there who had won stuff before, and you go in there and you are a sponge, you are looking around thinking, wow, like these players are, they know what to do. They know how to get through those difficult moments. They never lose hope within themselves, within the strength of the team as teammates. It's a different, I don't know. It's a different
Who were the
energy.
biggest characters when you were there in terms, obviously you got John Terry and we know what he's done within the game, but who else was you learning off, especially because you was more offensive player?
Yeah, I mean, you had Lamps, Frank Lampard, who in training, I'll never forget, he was one of those players who, when I talk about shooting drills, he's the perfect example of shooting the way his chances come in games. So that was one thing that I picked up from. Then you talk about Peter Cech was a huge presence in the dressing room vocally. You had Didier as well, who was very vocal, and you knew you could trust him in those big moments. And I think with this City squad, when you look at this squad now, you think to yourself, if something goes wrong, if there's any little vibe going on, Kevin De Bruyne is going to do something. He's going to make something happen. Rodri might get a little goal from the edge of the box with a deflection or something like that. And you're thinking, these moments, we've not seen it once. It's happened every year. So it is something.
And they can all trust in each other, and Pep Guardiola can trust in his players to take them over the line. Well, as the heavens open here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Spurs weren't able to rain on Manchester City's parade. Here's Ange Postecoglou with Emma.
Well, Ange, on the whole, a pretty tightly fought game, but ultimately, where do you think you've come short there in the end?
It was a tight game, I guess. In the big moments, we weren't able to capitalise, and they were.
Beyond that, I suppose in the first half, particularly tight, that extra man in midfield looked to me making all the difference.
Yeah, I thought we were well in the game the whole time. I mean, even at 1-0, we had a great chance to go 1-1. So, I thought it was a tight game all along, obviously. At the end there, we're chasing the game, so they got a bit more space. But up until that point, I thought we were well in it.
Do you think with the opportunities you had, particularly when it was just 1-0, there is an element of feeling with coming away with a bit of a missed opportunity tonight with those opportunities that you had in front of goal?
Yeah, absolutely. We lost the game. So, we had opportunities within the game to punish them.
Ahead of tonight, we talked about ultimately the ambition of this football club wanting to go on and emulate the kind of success that Manchester City has had. Tonight you had a chance to really measure yourselves against them. What conclusions have you drawn with that?
Nothing earth-shattering that I didn't know before the game. We still got some work to do.
Some work? I mean, how close are you when you're looking ahead to next season, the work that needs to be done?
We need to do some work to catch up.
It does mean that you are now officially out of that race for the Champions League places. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Well, we've lost the game, so I'm disappointed. Yeah.
But to have been in the race for Champions League football for such a long portion of this season, is that something that you can take pride of at this stage?
No, not right now, because we've lost. So we'll assess the season. Still got one more game to go. Still go to Sheffield United, and we've got to make sure we finish with a strong performance there, and then we'll assess the season there.
And would you feel fifth is a fair reflection of where you're at?
I think wherever you finish is a fair reflection of where you're at.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I think the last 48 hours has revealed to me the foundations are fairly fragile, mate, so that's what I feel. I just think that's, like I said, the last 40 hours has revealed a fair bit to me, and that's all right. That just means I've got to go back to the drawing board with something. Outside, inside, everywhere. It's been an interesting exercise. It's just my observations, mate. I'm not going to tell you because it's for me. I'm the one that's got to do it. So, you can make your own fairly accurate assessment of what's happened. And I understand I probably misread the situation as to what I think is important in your endeavour to become a winning team, but that's okay. That's why I'm here. It is what it is, mate. I can't dictate what people do. They're allowed to express themselves any way they want. But yeah, when we've got late winners in games, it's because the crowd's helped us.
Jamie, we heard a lot more from Ange Postecoglou there once he'd had a chance to reflect and maybe consider what he wanted to say publicly. And as it was pretty strong.
Yeah, it was. It's not been easy listening to obviously what's been going on and people questioning Spurs maybe winning this game. When they had Champions League, if they'd have won today and they win on Sunday, there was a chance of Champions League football at this club. But people are more interested in just stopping Arsenal winning the title. And that mentality, and I 100% agree with him, and that's what he's alluding to. But that's a culture that's been created for a long while at this club. I was here. I didn't never feel it was a winning mentality or even try. You can't always win, but sometimes you can make sure you try. 2 years ago, I remember being up there in that box, Kelly, when Arsenal, they lost here to Tottenham. Tottenham beat them. They bullied them that night. And if you had have said to me in that 2 years after, Arsenal would be contending to win the title, I'd have been, well, I can't quite see that. But what Arsenal have done as a club, they really back the manager. They've brought in players that are ready to win titles. Not maybe going to make the team a bit better, win titles. What do we need? We need Declan Rice. Let's bring him in. Let's make that difference. They tried to buy Mudryk for 100 million, whatever it was. No, they didn't get him. They ended up getting Trossard. But challenging to win, to get players, to take that club to the next level. And that's the mentality of Arsenal that Tottenham haven't got. They've got the most beautiful, the facade, the stadium is incredible. But the team has to match that. They lost Harry Kane at the start of the year. You should have said to Harry Kane that we want to keep you. We want to make sure that you're here. Instead of maybe letting him go, or make sure you bring someone in that is the ready-made replacement. I've always felt it. It's just not quite that, and it comes from the top here. And I have to be careful because I've often said about Manchester United, and when people talk about the Glazers and the difference, and it comes from them. But they've always backed the team with the players. They've always, whatever happens, whether they've got it right or wrong, they've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions, billions of pounds on the players. Whereas here, I just don't ever think that's been the case to improve the team.
So you just think it's run as a business, is what you're saying?
Absolutely run as a business, and I think the fans deserve better than that.
I mean, being financially responsible is how, and the board and the owners aren't here to represent themselves, so they would argue that running a club in a financially responsible way is not a bad thing. We've seen clubs suffer because they've been run badly. That as
well. Arsenal do that, so I'm just not saying. Just think it's not a case of having to go. It's just the fact if you're happy with that, and you can see the manager's not, that's where you're going to be. If you want to run it as a business, you have to accept that, and the Spurs fans have to accept that. But I think they deserve better.
Do they have a manager with a winning mentality? Did we see that in his time at Celtic? Did we see that in his time at previous clubs?
100%. I think he has got a winning mentality. He said there in his interview the last 48 hours. So how I read that is obviously he's had a conversation with someone and he's probably discussing the future. What players can they get in the summer? How can I take this team forward? Because let's not forget, it's his first season. He's done very well for his first season, but how can you kick on? And that's a massive statement for a manager there. It's a massive statement, because if you look at the game today, Man City was expected to win, but you can see he's hurt. He wants more. He wants more players. He wants to be able to change it so they can change the game. But at the moment, he's just not getting it.
You know what? When I look at that, before the game, we had the conversation with the manager, and he was confused. It was like dumbfounded. Like, why do we believe that, not winning today and having Arsenal win the league. Like, what is that? And I think he's probably coming from a place of like, this isn't my football culture. This isn't how I see things. I want to win every single game. I think he had the belief in his team. I think the players did. But I think the mentality, can it creep in, you know, from the outside into the camp? Sometimes it can, you know. And I think for a manager like him, you can see he's literally hurt by, you know, I don't know whether it's the circumstances or the result for sure. But it seems as if there is something else added to just the result to me.
Their quality, not just in terms of the collective, but in terms of the individual brilliance. Jamie mentioned it almost at the full-time whistle there. That relationship between De Bruyne and Haaland, we haven't seen it that much so far this season, but when we do see it, it clicks almost immediately.
This is what we're talking about, a telepathic relationship. I had this feeling with maybe a Coutinho or a Suarez for sure, where you just know your boy is going to be there. That's the corridor of uncertainty. That is the alleyway. That is the place that, as a centre-forward, you want the ball. How many goals have we seen Haaland score like this from De Bruyne? He knows that backstick there. That's that place that Haaland's going to be. And I think, you know, in this moment here, we're seeing guys who just know, I know where you're going to be. I don't even need to look. He doesn't even look. He's just there. He knows where his mate's going to be, and he puts it in the area.
It's an extraordinary relationship that they have, Jamie, and obviously with De Bruyne having been injured for a large part of this season, it's felt at times as though Haaland hasn't been getting to the numbers that we expected of him last season, but he's reached 27 goals very quietly without anybody making much of a fuss about it.
And another golden boot. Like you say, he has reached it quietly, and you felt that if Kevin De Bruyne, if he hadn't had that hamstring injury, you could have been 35 again. You know, that's the difference. And when you've got a player and you have that relationship, like you say, it is telepathic, Daniel. You just see each other. And the amount of times, I mean, I've lost count of how many passes it just have you going, wow, how on earth has he seen that? From Spurs' point of view, Romero, that's a shocking challenge. He has to do better here. Sometimes he goes around kicking people, and in this instance, for whatever reason, he just tries to sort of dip his toe in. You've got to win that one. Then you've got a point to the back post as well, because you've got Dragosan and then you've got Højbjerg have to follow Kevin De Bruyne. When you've got a player of this quality, you can see him there, number 17. Højbjerg's locked onto him now. Make sure you match that run. He doesn't, and then the rest is history, because his like qualities is, you know, he's another level. He's got to do better. He was kicking people in the first half. I'm not quite sure why he didn't really make a better challenge or a better fist of it there.
He was also involved in one of what turned out to be one of the more significant moments in the game, because Ederson went off injured after a challenge by Romero. He was given a yellow card for this. They did look at it on VAR. It's definitely a painful challenge, and we saw the after effects of it. And Ederson had to come off because it's a head injury, and they'll be extra cautious around that. And I know you were surprised maybe that he stayed on even for the couple of minutes that he did. But anything to suggest that was more than a yellow card?
No, he had all the right to go for the ball. It just looked nasty in the end. I think he should have come off straight away, played on a little bit.
How good was he though, Micah?
He was absolutely unbelievable. And we talk about having a number 2 who you can trust. Ortega, every time I watch him play, he's been brilliant. I think, you know, and I'm not a goalkeeper, but if you just watch his foot movement on all the chances, it's absolutely brilliant. You know, defenders, when you make a mistake, you got your keeper to bail you out. He starts, and look at his foot, the way he's so agile on his feet. He's ready. He's just brilliant. And you've been in that situation so many times, Daniel. When a goalkeeper puts you in this position here and narrows down the angle,
he's making you make a decision. Mm-hmm. I'm making you make a choice right now. I'm not allowing you to take your time and pick your spot. I'm putting you in a predicament. You've got to make a choice.
This is the one, Daniel.
Oh, yeah. And this here, the pace, the pressing for one, the pace. But look, for me, Son almost gives a tell. You know, when you're running through, you kind of want to give the goalkeeper. If you look at his body shape here, it's almost like there is really only one place he's going to put it based on his body shape. If you look at the goalkeeper, how low he is, he doesn't move, he's patient, he's waiting. And as you see, as he's making a connection, it's very difficult for Son to go near post, which is probably the spot he should go. So when he goes to the goalkeeper's other side, it's like, it's almost a towel. Sometimes going through the legs is where you want the ball to go as a centre-forward running through one-on-one. But look, the goalkeeper did his job.
Can he change his body shape there in order to kind of deceive the goalkeeper, or is the kind of body shape dictated by where he actually does want to put the ball?
I think, like I said before, in terms of goalkeeper making you make a choice. When you're running through like that, you want to be the person making the choice. So, of course, if you look here, he's got probably a step ahead of the defender, but it's his first touch. So he basically took one touch and then shot. So really,
could he have got? Look at this one now, Daniel. If he just goes round him to the right.
That's my kind of vibe. But again, we've seen someone like a Darren Bent who running through one-on-one, go through the goalkeeper's legs, guaranteed. That's his finish. So it's one of those where the goalkeeper has just done unreal. Like, fair play to him. Like, Son could make maybe one or two different choices in terms of where he could go, but in the end, the goalkeeper's patience to stay there, to get low and to make the saves, brilliant.
I think, just talking about the goalkeeper now, we've all been, as footballers, you think, even if you're on the bench, there's a chance I might come on right midfield or, because I played in midfield. Daniel could go anywhere in the front line. You could go anywhere in the defence. When you're a goalkeeper, the patience you have to sit and you have to try and help somebody that is number one. You know you're not going to be starting because Ederson is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And you have to be ready. You never know when you're going to come on. And he came on 61 minutes. And he is, to a certain extent, made sure that his team is going to win the title tonight. That was an unbelievable cameo when him coming on. The bravery that he showed, he never made a mistake. He was incredible. And you could see the respect from his teammates. You could see what it meant to Pep. Because that is the hardest job in football, to be a number two as a goalkeeper. It's the job that nobody wants. It's a nightmare because you're never really going to play.
It's the fourth time this season that he's had to come on.
And he's been brilliant
Ederson
every single time. Unbelievable achievement. And he was absolutely magnificent today.
Yeah, I just think it's mentally, when you come into a game, and like you said, goalkeepers always need that rhythm or whatever position you want to play. But to come into a game of this magnitude and just be so calm, it's a calmness. Normally we talk about the defence and the goalkeeper having that understanding. Even when he comes in as number two, he does have that understanding. It's brilliant.
Cal Walker's come over to talk to us. Just making his way down the line. Cal, thanks so much for coming over to chat to us. Congratulations on the win. How did you find that game out there?
It was always going to be difficult, obviously, with the emotions, with everything that's riding on it. It was always going to be a difficult game, but I thought, the lads did the job that we needed to do. But it's one step closer. It's still not the job done, but at least we bring it down to the last game and in front of our fans, which is important.
Rodri said that almost after the final whistle. He harked back to the game against Aston Villa on the last day of the season and going 2-0 down in that game. Obviously, came back to win it and to clinch the title. But are those the moments that you remind yourself of as you get into this title, these last phases of the title race?
I think you have to take every game as it comes. We had a job to do tonight. We've done that, and then we know how things can swing in the balance of a game of football. Like we, experienced against Aston Villa, going 2-0 down, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what's actually happening here? So, as the manager's just said in there, we prepare, we go in tomorrow, we recover, and then we've got 3 days to prepare for West Ham, which is another final, and hopefully, go and make history for this great club.
That way that you're talking about the ability to focus on each game individually and the moments in those games, is that something that you learn from being in title races? Do you feel, for example, more equipped to deal with it this season than you did in your first title-winning season?
Well, yeah, I think obviously joining this club, you learn from the past captains, from the past people that have been at the club, that it kind of gets bred into you. Obviously, the manager's won countless things, so that comes from the top. But then, the likes of Fernandinho, Vincent Kompany, Yaya Toure, Gundo, Kevin, who's obviously been here for a number of years now and won titles, you get that from them. And, I'm just trying to pass that on to the next generation that's coming through at this great club. And listen, it's not job done. It's not job done by a million miles, obviously. We've still got a game to go and a game to win. And, I make sure the lads are fully focused, come that game, and hopefully we can get the win.
Do you enjoy the pressure? Can I ask you that? Because the mentality is just different level.
I think if I didn't enjoy the pressure, I'd be in the wrong job and definitely at the wrong team. These are the games that you want to play in. I think as a footballer, the feeling that I've got on the pitch there, when we scored 2-0, you don't experience that too often. And it's not the fact that it's Premier League done, but it's the emotion that last night I couldn't sleep. I'm struggling to sleep, and then you get into the hotel today. They've tried to set fireworks off the night before, but we weren't there. They've missed us. But, you know, everything...
I think that was our
They've missed us. But listen, it's little things like that where you're trying to get off, and now I'm trying to scramble half an hour in the afternoon just to get my head down. But these are the games that you want to play in. You know, these are the things that you want to be competing for. And luckily, over my 7 years at the club, I've been competing in them, you know, for definitely 6 of them.
Speaking of feelings, Walks, where was your head at and your body and your mind at when you saw Son running through, when you were 1-0 up? Keep it jiggy with me.
Oh my, Stefan, he's got that spread, hasn't he? It's like, it reminds me of a Neuer, you know, like the German goalkeepers have got that spread, and as you look at it now, obviously, I think Manu's been fantastic all night, and it's just as a defender, you know, it's sod's law. One mistake and it can end up in a goal. And he's got that spread where it's just got down and the big calves come into play. But, you know, I bet his heart was in his mouth. I was just thinking, no, not again. No. Yeah, like, not again. And for Sonny, obviously, we've spent so much time together here at Tottenham. For him to do it to me, he's the nicest man in football. So for him to do it to me, I don't think I could forgive him. But, listen, the stars, it was aligned for us. And, you know, we've got a chance to go and do it at the last game of the season.
There was a lot of talk about the integrity of the game today and Spurs maybe not trying because they didn't want to give, you know, Arsenal the title. Did that almost make it more difficult for you to a certain extent today, Carl? Because it did feel like an unusual game.
Yeah, I think it's an unusual game. You hear everything that's, you know, in the media and stuff like that, but we're competitors. We're competitors, and I think people have to understand that never mind if it's a training session or a game in the Premier League, Spurs could have still gone on and got the Champions League. You know, Aston Villa going to Crystal Palace was still a difficult game. So if they would have won that today, who knows what would have happened. So you could see they was putting everything on the line to go and win the game, and which they're, you know, as professionals they're meant to do. But from a Man City point of view, we had to block all that. We had to block all that and just appreciate, you know, and appreciate the moments that we're in and attack every game as we have been doing all season.
One down, one more to go, Kyle.
Yeah.
Thanks so much
Cheers,
for coming out to talk to us. You've got a big weekend to prepare for. Thanks a lot.
Such top. All my best. Cheers. See you. Bye.
Guys, really interesting to hear from Kyle Walker. I think Kyle's trying to get rid of his microphone over there if somebody wants to grab it from him. Look, we're listening to him, you know, talk about that and that mentality. We heard it from Rodri at the final whistle. We heard it from the manager before the game. We've heard this season after season, and you asked the question, do you enjoy the pressure? And the answer almost seems to be, it's not necessarily about enjoying the pressure, it's about knowing if you can deal with the pressure, the rewards that brings.
Yeah, exactly that. I liked his answer about he couldn't sleep, because, you know, when you're talking about, of course we all get nerves as footballers. We try to pretend we don't. We do get nerves, but for someone with so much experience, of course, maybe the fact that they can win 4 in a row, comes with that added pressure. Obviously, they want to beat Man United side who have done that, the most recent. But yeah, I just love his mentality. Not only that, tactically as well. Because when we looked at Kyle Walker, even when I was playing, it was up and down, full back, crossing, and we've seen a little bit of that today in the first half. But it's more how he's been able to adjust into sort of that free at the back role. And that's why Pep is so brilliant. He manages to find the best way for the players to fit into a system. And I just think Kyle Walker, for what he's done now, we're talking about one of the best right backs in the Premier League history. Obviously, Gary Neville would always be has been my number one, but he's pushing
Don't tell him
I know, yeah, it's not often I'm nice about Gary Neville, but he's a true legend of the game. But Kyle Walker now, he's pushing him for that number one spot.
That's better. Take that a little bit more. But you know, there'll be kids who'll be getting to the sort of, you know, trophy-winning end of their own seasons and kind of dealing with nerves. And to hear Kyle Walker say that will be really, really reassuring. But Manchester City's nerves were settled when Erling Haaland scored from the penalty spot. In terms of the incident, anything to quibble with there?
No, I think the game was going to get stretched. I think Doku injects that little bit of pace, doesn't he? I think he just mistimes it there, doesn't he, Porro? I think it is a penalty. And, yeah, when Haaland steps up. You know, we're talking about someone who's not hit the heights of last season, but he's just an amazing striker. Running in behind, timing of his run, knowing where to be, everything about his game in terms of running in behind is just exceptional. And look what it means to Pep and the fans there. I mean, they've been on some ride.
It doesn't look like the feeling's getting old, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't. And especially the away fans. I remember the away fans are always singing the loudest and the atmosphere. Unbelievable. Look at that. 27. Did you score 27?
Six clear of Cole Palmer as well. Yeah.
But you could play number 10 as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, but you know, this guy.
You'd love to have played him, though, Daniel, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing is with Haaland, yeah, is we're measuring the man against himself. Talking about a guy who, 30 plus goals last season. This season he's on 27, and I think the expectation of him is to be the best every single game, to score every single chance. But at such a young age, to do this, the numbers, I think it's 62 goals in 64, 63 and 65. That's schoolboy, that's stuff that you do when you're 12. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a goal every game. That's not stuff you do in the Premier League. In your second season, we have to give the guy the utmost respect and credit for what he's done in this league. We could talk about penalties all day long and say, yeah, but all the best strikers in the history of our game, outside of maybe Andy Cole, has taken penalties too. So we're talking about a guy who is a top class centre forward, world class. He will improve as well, and when he improves,
wow.
He's already said that so many times this season, that there are areas of his game that he's working on. He's managed a few headers this season as well, which is one of the
2-goal hero Erling Haaland. Erling, very many congratulations.
Thank you.
How did you look back at that performance tonight?
Difficult, a lot of emotions, and there's nothing much to say. There's one more game, and relax, focus, and believe in ourselves.
Do you feel like you've got one hand on the trophy?
No, one more game. As I said, focus. Now go home, relax, enjoy. Nothing more.
What was the message in the dressing room from the manager?
One more.
Yeah.
Don't think. Now relax, and then we go again Sunday.
So no wild celebrations in the dressing room right now?
Don't celebrate yet.
Yeah. Talk us through Stefan Ortega's performance and contribution.
It's incredible. He's so good, and he's such a good guy as well. Proper German, so no, he's a great guy. And look at this. I think you have to go. I think you have to go Euros now as well, because he's so good and so important.
Yeah, how big was that save against
it's
Son?
Incredible. It's incredible. And not only him, Ederson as well had some good ones. Don't forget that. But Ortega won in the moment and in everything. Almost got a heart attack. So
talk us through your mindset in the penalty. How calm were you? How nervous? Or
I thought, yeah.
At the moment,
my heart was beating so quick. But I told Ruben when we were standing there, so tired, and I think also that's why I didn't think. It's the first time I didn't think, and just about getting the ball in the back of the net, and that's what I did. And yeah.
It was quite telling, Erling, actually. You were just saying one more to go. Let's not get too carried away. And just exactly what Pep said to you in the dressing room just now.
Yeah, as I said now many times, don't think, don't celebrate or anything. We played 37 games now, so it's a marathon. So
and out this way for you.
I knew that a striker for City should score a lot of goals. But again, honestly, I don't care anything about this. I don't care how we win, just win. As I said, it's stats, okay.
But he absolutely cares mostly about the team and trying to win the trophy, and his goals are obviously going to be a huge contribution to that. So you've got to do your individual performance before you can contribute to the team, of course. And that's what he's certainly been. 3 or something goals in his 2 seasons so far with another
63 and 65.
I mean, you are expected to in that Manchester City team. You are getting more chances than virtually anyone else in the league. However, the way he's finished them, the way he stayed fit for the majority of those 2 years, under pressure, he's a machine, isn't he? The size of him, the presence of him, he's just a bit of everything, and he must be a nightmare to defend against. And this is his first goal in 51 minutes, might have been a little bit edgy going in at half-time, but those nerves were soon settled in the second half. I mean, it's good play by Foden down the left-hand side, and then, again, we mentioned, didn't we, at half-time, the way they were doubling up on that right-hand side. De Bruyne makes a lovely little run. I thought Romero was soft here, and I never thought I'd say that about him, Sean. Yeah. I mean, he could easily have smashed Phil Foden there and snuffed out the danger.
Yeah, and also there, Bentancur should have
put a tackle in, but he's on a yellow, so he can't. And Kevin makes his trademark running behind, and the ball's just in between the goalkeeper and the defence, where you always want the ball put from a winger's perspective for a striker, and like he does.
And you always want your striker there, don't you, Sean? I mean, I get him from 2 yards away, and that's what he does. You can talk about, he doesn't have many touches outside the box, all you like, but the most important thing is when the ball is coming in, right place, right time, finish it off. And he does it more than anyone.
Yeah, and that was his first after that.
Yeah, exactly. It was... This is his yellow card early on in the game, and it was a bad one. I mean, a bad tackle, definitely deserved a yellow card, so he can have no complaints there. You see he's late, he's high on Phil Foden, and it's a bad tackle. This is the goal. I mean, Romero is at fault to start with, but look at this. It's a challenge of a man that's on a yellow card, that can't do anything. He let it wrong, but that's over the top. So a tricky, and it just shows you the importance of discipline. Right at the early part of the game, he didn't need to tackle Foden like that, and if he hadn't, conceding the first goal because your man's already on a yellow card, and it just shows you the importance of discipline. Right at the early part of the game, he didn't need to tackle Foden like that, and if he hadn't, then they wouldn't have gone 1-0 down, and he wouldn't have got brought off. So maybe he needs to learn a lesson as well.
Interesting. Ederson, fourth time he had to go off. I mean, is there a braver keeper around in this situation, Sean?
No, he always seems to put his body in harm's way to stop, but this is... He doesn't even look at Romero. His eyes are solely on the ball. I can imagine he knows the hit coming, but he can't do much about it. I can imagine he knows the hit coming, but he can't do much about it. And that is a painful one. I feel like Romero has to go for it. I don't think he's meant to hit him, but that hit has literally took him out of the game. And then you get this frustration from a man that's just emotional. I feel like he wanted to stay on the pitch. He didn't want to come off. The game of that magnitude, he wanted to play more of it. But I think they took him off personally for precaution. They got another big game on the weekend coming up. They got an FA Cup final to prepare for. So I think it's more in terms of that. But I don't mind stuff like that when you're getting taken off and you're showing frustration. I think that's different to, say, the Bentancur situation, where he should understand, first of all, that it's tactical. You obviously didn't make that tackle, like Mo said, based on your yellow card, which cost us a goal. Whereas that is just precaution, and that's just a man that doesn't want to come off the pitch because he feels like he's fine.
Yeah, I like that attitude as well, I must admit. Not necessarily showing the world that you're frustrated, but you believe you're okay. The doctor or physio have checked you. You've then played on for another 5 medical decision why he's come off. And we get it. You know, you've got to be safe rather than sorry in this day and age. I get that. And he has had a nasty blow to the head, but he's already been checked and he's been allowed to continue. So why the change of mind after another 5 minutes? I'd be frustrated as well. And he's already been checked and he's been allowed to continue. So why the change of mind after another 5 minutes? I'd be frustrated as well. And he was frustrated, but I'm sure he'll get his place back. The other frustration is obviously the goalkeeper had a massive part to play, and of course he'll be sitting there thinking, I should have been making that save. I would have made that save. I'd be the hero, you know. Things like that. And the frustration of Ederson, I really can. And that's what you call a winner, that's what you call a champion. Here's a save. I mean, it's an awful mistake from Manchester City. And it's not the normal type of save. I was thinking he would take a step back and then almost run at Son. But he actually runs back and then just stops and makes him...
He's a keeper, but when he puts his head down, he hasn't visualised, and that shows how much Pep has appreciated.
Doesn't give kisses out lightly, Pep, does he?
No, he definitely doesn't. Maybe the odd hug, but not the kiss.
He deserves his kiss tonight, doesn't he? I mean, what a huge moment that is in the title race.
Yeah, it's massive. I think that was about the 86th, 87th minute when he made that save. And OK, there was going to be another 9 or 10 minutes injury time. So there would have been time for Manchester City to maybe get the winner. But, I mean, this literally could be the biggest moment in the title race. It's massive. It's like scoring a goal at the other end. It's just huge. And he deserves every little bit of that kiss off Pep Guardiola.
I have to agree. I don't think Son lifts his head up. After he runs through, he looks and then his head's down. I don't think he sees, like Mo said, that he's backed off and stopped and not moved again, and he's played it so close.
In your career, Ortega will be remembered forever by Manchester City fans for making a save that doesn't. He stays big, stays tall for a long period of time. That I used to hate it when goalkeepers did that. I wanted them to almost commit, make a move. Almost it can make your mind up as well. Sometimes you'll tease them and try to make them charge you. If you take a big touch and they think I'm taking a big touch here, and they might come and dive at your feet. So you can do little things to try to make stays big and stays tall and stands long. Very difficult as a centre forward. As I say, I think Son, who I do rate as a finisher as well, he's normally you wouldn't want anyone else in that position. But looking at the chance again, I think a little slide into the near post was probably the finish there, and he's fluffed his lines.
Can you imagine the Arsenal fans at that moment? They probably thought, this is it.
Yeah.
How many times have they seen Son score in those situations in other games?
Exactly. And if you'd asked all of those Arsenal fans, as I say, I'm sure, do a poll on who they want running through one-on-one in that team, you'd probably want Son. So it was a big moment, massive moment in the title race, huge repercussions everywhere you look. But I suppose it's not over yet. They still might have another bite of the cherry.
And it was a big 4 minutes because at the other end, as you mentioned, we saw the celebration from Doku once he'd been fouled and the penalty was awarded.
Yeah, and from this frame, but how about this ball from Phil Foden? It's that good, it actually slows down for Doku to get there. And then that little shimmy there, we know Doku does a lot. And when he gets that and the foot goes in, he's always going to win that penalty. But like you said, the celebration after just showed how much it meant, not only to him, but where they're going in the direction and the position they're in. And now that, like everyone's saying, they're in pole position now. So that penalty, but the cool and calmness, one step, and the fact that Haaland said for the first time, he didn't think about it. Now, I would definitely be thinking about it if I'm nervous. So it shows a lot that even a guy with 60-odd plus goals in 2 seasons can still get nervous at a moment like that, then anybody can.
And he will be the first player ever in his first 2 seasons in the Premier League to win the Golden Boot in both. He's up to 27 league goals now. Just the 38 this season after the 52 last season in all competitions. I still smile when I'm saying those figures.
Quite incredible, yeah. It was
I'm saying those
quite
figures.
incredible, yeah. It was looking like quite a tight race, wasn't it, for the Golden Boot this season? And all of a sudden, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's just surged clear, and now it looks like a procession. So, as I said, he gets more chances than the most. He's one of the better finishers in the league. He's got attributes that sometimes you just simply can't defend against. If you hang one up onto that back post, what can you do? I mean, he's so big, so powerful, such a good header of the ball. He's got so many strings to his bow, and sometimes he's undefendable.
Try and make history. He won 4 consecutive titles at Barcelona as a player. He's now going to try and do it with Manchester City as a manager. Talking of history, just want to clear something up for Michael, because when we were talking about Erling Haaland's stats there...
Oh, don't tell everyone.
No. He will be the first player to score, to get the Golden Boot in his first 2 seasons in the Premier League. And you said, didn't I do that, Steve?
Yeah, I did.
And then our statsman said, no, you'd already played 2 games the previous season, so it doesn't count.
OK. That's pernickety.
It's harsh.
That's pernickety.
But I'm only relaying the information.
2 first seasons. That's a scandal.
But it was your third.
I'd already played 110 minutes to get this season.
Which was your first season, technically.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. It's a bit like assists, but...
OK.
Yeah. What was interesting there was, in the first half, he said that his players were playing for the consequences of the result. It's good to know after all these titles, they're still human, these City players, anyway.
Yeah, well, I think to play the way they do and go through what they have, they kind of have to be. I think they have to be level-headed. They can't get away with themselves and, like Roger said, think the title's already theirs. They have...
But like you said at half-time, they looked unusually nervous tonight. It even got to them, didn't it?
Well, you're going to. I think when you see Arsenal doing what Arsenal are doing, I don't think Arsenal played that great at Old Trafford, but they still won the game. And when you see teams till that last point, and if you mess up, the chances are you will lose the title. So in many respects and ways, I totally understand it. I am a little bit surprised by it because of what they've come through and what they've already achieved. And I think we all went of what they've come through and what they've already achieved. And I think we all went big moments. They should be able to handle the pressure. But I still think you're human. Like, you can't. I don't feel like you can escape it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like that line from Pep Guardiola. We were playing the consequences. It made me think, and yeah, and that's exactly how Arsenal played. That's exactly how City played today. It's almost one of those don't want to make a mistake type of attitudes instead of free flowing. Just play the way we do. The bigger the prize, the more you maybe think about it a little bit. So yeah, I get that, and maybe. You know, we're all looking at the West Ham game thinking West Ham have got nothing to play for, everything to play for City, of course it's going to be more, everything to play for City, of course it's going to be one way. But with all the examples that we've just reeled off, maybe it's not over just yet.
Who knows? One worry tonight was Kevin De Bruyne going off. Really saw one from Pape Sarr and his tonight was Kevin De Bruyne going off. Really saw one from Pape Sarr and his Achilles.
Yeah, I don't think Pepe Sarr meant it, to be honest with you, but the way Kevin takes the ball and kind of cuts across him sort of thing and runs in his path kind of kills him, but he does get him nasty down the back of the Achilles. I actually thought he would have got taken off. You very rarely see Kevin go down and stay down and scream the way he was in that situation. So happily and luckily he managed to play a few minutes, but he got subbed off, I think, in many ways. Hopefully, fingers crossed, more for precaution.
Yeah, obviously it was a blow as opposed to anything else, which is normally, you know, painful but not too bad. You saw the stamp on the back of the Achilles there. I thought the yellow card was the right decision. I agree. I didn't think it was intentional, but it did stop an attack, and of course he did foul him. So, but it was.
Certainly hope so.
Wasn't fit to play at the weekend.
Well, City will certainly hope so. Aside from the title story tonight, there's a brilliant one, of course, for Aston Villa. Spurs had to win, they haven't, and at their Player of the Season awards, that is on social media. Unai Emery on hearing the full-time whistle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What a brilliant achievement. As we mentioned on last night's show, he inherited a team 1 point above the relegation zone. His brief was to keep Aston Villa in the Premier League. And then he led them to 7th and into Europe. He's now led them into the Champions League. It's only the 3rd ever season they'll compete in Europe's top competition. He was your manager of the year. It's an astonishing achievement and brilliant emotions and scenes from Villa's end of season awards there.
What a picture that was. What a picture. You know, the joy, long season, lots of work that he's put in. He's the most hard-working manager out there. But look at that for emotion. Not just him, but the players around him, and yeah, absolutely fabulous. Well deserved. You know, I think they've been really entertaining. They've had an incredible home record, certainly for the first 2/3 of the season. They were almost unbeatable. And I'd be really excited if I was an Aston Villa fan. Not just because of the results of this season, but I just think they've got a bit of money behind them. They're now going to get the riches that comes with the Champions League. They've got a good squad anyway. They've had a few injuries. I think they can be better anyway. I think they've got a brilliant manager that's going to take them to the next level. And we look at teams like Manchester United, Newcastle, Tottenham and Chelsea and all these teams that are pushing to get to the top. Aston Villa have to be in that conversation now. They've proved it this year and they've got a lot going for them. They could go and push on again next year.
Yeah, congratulations to Aston Villa. The last team. Wow, that is really interesting. In the last 48 hours, I've seen foundations that are really fragile inside and outside of...
Happy, does he?
Far from it.
I wonder what that can be, whether he's had a meeting with the people above, whether he started looking ahead to next season already, which would surprise me if he had. Yeah, that's a head-scratcher, that one. But there's certainly something that's you know, affecting him and annoying him at the moment, so that'll obviously come out in the hours and days to come, but not a happy man there at the moment, so that'll obviously come out in the hours and days to come, but not a happy man there.
No, in terms of foundations, do you think that might mean the recruitment going forward to try and give him a squad to go higher?
I'm not sure. I'm a little bit like Mo. I thought everything for me was going well. Obviously, they're not where they want to be in the Premier League, but in terms of...
Well, they lost 5 of the last 6, haven't they? So.
Yeah, but he was going well. Obviously, they're not where they want to be in the Premier League, but in terms of...
Well, they lost 5 of the last 6, haven't they? So.
Yeah, but if you listen to the fans, the Spurs fans, they're all delighted. too soon, so better than everybody expected off the back in being in this position to challenge for the Champions League. And we knew it would take 1 or 2 more transfer windows, just like Ledley said, to get roughly to where he wants to be. So I just assume, right, you take the positives away from this, you make your get roughly to where he wants to be. So I just assume, right, you take the positives away.
Of recruitment or whatever, I'm not sure. But anyway, that will come out, I'm sure, over the next few days, because that seems like it's a very big...
In terms of, like I said, the progression of the style of football they're playing, how exciting, magnificently, on both accounts. I don't think Spurs have a deep enough team to do that and achieve magnificently on both accounts. I don't think Spurs have a deep enough team to do that and accomplish both.
Maybe that's the foundations.
Maybe. But when you look at it bare facts, I mean, they're about half a dozen points ahead of where they were last season already with another game. Let's surmise that they go and beat Sheffield United. 9 points improvement is a good one. Notwithstanding that, they've also got a manager now that are playing a style of football that the fans really like. So it's not just attractive football, but it's more productive as well. So you have to say it's a step forward. We're starting to progress, and now all of a sudden it looks like the manager's not very happy at all. So again, we're starting to progress, and now all of a sudden it looks like the manager's not very happy at all. So again, we'll see what happens, but I think it's been a very progressive season for Spurs.
Yeah, particularly, I have to say, losing Harry Kane, a lot of teams would go backwards after that.
Yeah. You would, especially if you lose a player, like you said, like him, that basically against, if you look at his record against City, when City have played there, he's that man that creates a chance when everything's going against Spurs. And I think they've managed superbly well to do what they're doing. The right players have stepped up at the right time. Of course, they went on a little bad run, but a lot of the 5 clubs have had that little wobble. And Spurs just had theirs, I suppose, in many ways at the wrong time, where all the rest of the teams have kicked on.
So, Sheffield United Spurs will be one of the games with something on it on the final day of the season, but the main 2, of course, will be at the Etihad and at the Emirates. And Arsenal just have to do their job. Everton, nothing to play for, but they have the 4th best defence in the Premier League away at the Emirates. They have to win that, Arsenal, and then hope West Ham can get something at the Etihad. I mean, it's great, isn't it? As I say, it's only the 10th time in the Premier League era we're going to sit here at the start of the final day and not know who the champions definitely are.
No, it's great when it goes to the last game, and this title race has deserved to go to the last game. They've both been incredible teams this season. Arsenal, it's going to be very, very likely that they've put in one of the most incredible seasons and yeah, walk away with nothing. It's going to be very, very likely that they've put in one of the most incredible seasons. But that's the competition now. You know, this Manchester City team is one of the best teams we've ever seen. Certainly in my lifetime it is. So, you know, the bar keeps getting raised. Arsenal have stepped up to that this season. They've still got a puncher's chance in the last game. However, it really does look like Manchester City are going to prove too strong once again. But again, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're excited about the future. This team is going somewhere and improving fast.
Do you think, though, Mo, like after 2 seasons like this, if they don't win it this time, next season they might feel the jet lag of being pushed so far to their maximum and then getting pipped at the line?
Well, if they can sustain it, this Manchester City team, I mean, what everybody needs in the Premier League, let's get it right, is Pep Guardiola to toddle off. That's what it was. The long
we certainly don't, as neutrals.
Well, yeah, sorry, I mean the other teams, the fans of other teams. Yeah. That's what everyone needs. As long as he's in charge, he's the best manager in the world, isn't he? You're almost playing for second place at the moment. A couple of teams have snapped at his heels and snapped at his heels there, but really, he's not going anywhere. And as soon as he leaves the club, then there might be question marks. Then the likes of Arsenal got to be there to pounce at that time. Liverpool have got to keep this. I think most teams are looking at it and thinking, he can't last forever. Might he go at the end of this season if he wins it? Might he do 1 more year? He's only got 1 more year on his contract. So we shall see, but I think that's everybody's best hope at the minute because he just keeps rolling on.